reevaluated. And whenever you look at what's happened in the last 60 days, you've had multiple candidates drop out of the race. You've narrowed the field down to 6 or 7 candidates, which is a level that is fairly traditional, if not smaller, than in previous races.
Welcome back to America Decides. That was Republican presidential candidate Asa Hutchinson talking about his chances in the GOP race, and we're less than a week away from the 4th primary debate. Some candidates are still out there vying to secure their spot on the stage. North Dakota Governor and Republican presidential candidate Doug Burgum joins us now. Governor, thanks for taking a few minutes. What's your path ahead in this nomination race? You're not going to be on the next debate stage, but you are plowing ahead in the early voting states.
Well, Robert, great to be with you. And we're spending a lot of time on the ground in both Iowa and New Hampshire, getting a lot of positive feedback from voters. They're wishing that the debate criteria included that you had to have created jobs in the private sector, that you've had to work in technology, and that you've worked on a farm and ranch some point in your life, because it's hard to imagine that we're eliminating candidates that have, I mean, remaining candidates do not have substantial experience in the private sector. So this is just an interesting thing where we're falling back 100 years. To where, party insiders, 2 people at the RNC and pollsters are deciding and who's going to be on the debate stage based on national criteria, not on state criteria. And I think that you talk to anybody on the ground in Iowa and New Hampshire, and they're very disappointed with the RNC in terms of taking away their power as the people that actually screen and narrow the field. That's their job. That's not part of the charter or the mandate of the RNC.
Have you spoken to the RNC chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel, about this? Have you tried to get on the debate stage? And have you made an argument, whether publicly or privately, especially, about how this is all set up? You've never been able to get on the debate stage after that first debate. Have you told her it's unfair? Have you talked to RNC members?
Well, we made 2 debates, Robert. We're on the first one. We were at the one at the Reagan Library, the second one. And for the third one, we had met the criteria for Iowa and New Hampshire and the number of donors. We just missed the national criteria by, 0.8%. And so, yeah, we've publicly made our feelings known about this, but they continue to go ahead and feel like somehow it's their responsibility to try to narrow the field. And again, I recommend anybody read the book that was out in the last few years called Let the People Rule, the story of how Teddy Roosevelt got the power out of the party bosses and into the hands of primary voters. That's why we have things like the first the nation primary in New Hampshire, which began over 100 years ago, was because it was to actually let the voters are the ones that get to pick presidents and narrow the field, not the pollsters, but we're going backwards with this.
What's your plan now? Do you stay in the race through Super Tuesday and hope maybe it all comes around to you? Or if the RNC continues to keep you off the debate stage, do you decide at some point to wrap it up?
Well, I think one thing, again, if you're inside the Beltway and you're watching politics every day, the debates matter. But we've had fantastic reception from people on the ground. I mean, the real working people in America. Guess what? They're not watching the debates. I mean, only half as many people watched the third debate as the first debate. And a lot of people that have watched some of the debates said, hey, I wish I could get those 2 hours of my life back. Because if they're designed to set up inter-candidate conflict as opposed to actually help voters understand who's got relative experience in terms of leadership and who's actually proven. I mean, if you had a debate criteria that said, hey, you have to have actually cut government spending to be on the debate stage, I'd be the only candidate up there. I've created more jobs than the rest of them on the stage altogether when we were at the Reagan Library. So the debate criteria seems completely arbitrary, and I think voters understand that.
When you look at how this race is developing, Nikki Haley, the former ambassador, getting a lot of support from the business community. You're from the business community. What's your message to Jamie Dimon and other business leaders who say it's time to get behind Haley?
Well, I think it's interesting because the narrative this week is the race is over because the money is moving. Well, before we even got in this race, I was told the race was over because other candidates had all the money. And I think I've gone through 3 different candidates were the ones that had all the money since June 7th that are going to be unbeatable because they have all the money. And it turns out we know that whether you're Bloomberg or whoever you are, money isn't the thing that necessarily matters. It matters in terms of the connection with voters. And so, fundraising has been an interesting challenge. I think less so because of anything other than the fact that we've got a former president running almost as an incumbent in this race. So that makes this different than, I guess, anything since Grover Cleveland timeframe. But that part's been challenging, but it's great that the business community is getting engaged, that's for sure, because there's a lot riding on this for America.
And Governor, quickly, actions always speak in politics. Where are you spending your time in the coming weeks before the holiday?
Well, the schedule that we've been following the last month and we've got laid out, I'm in New Hampshire right now today, be here through Sunday, and schedule next week is to take us back to Iowa, where we spent the week before Thanksgiving.
Governor Burgum, thank you for swinging by. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Robert. Great to see you always.